Tarkov's new seasonal system is just around the corner, and today we're going to go through everything that we've been told so far so that you are ready when it finally lands. And never mind about the bear, I didn't have anywhere else to put him. So we're going to get into all of the details about exactly what is coming with seasonal as far as we know so far. But just before we do that, a quick recap for those of you who have kind of lost the plot and not been keeping up exactly with what's been going on in Tarkov. And I know there's a few of you, people who pop into chat and are confused about what is going on. So the new seasonal system is basically taking Escape from Tarkov back to the old PvP wipe system. And the reason for this is that currently you have a PvE account, which is permanent and never wipes unless you want to. You have to choose when it wipes. And you also have a PvP account, which is the one that we're still playing on right now with Icebreaker and all that. And that's never going to wipe either. So you have to choose to either wipe it yourself or you do a prestige and finish the story, something along those lines. So when the seasonal account comes through, your current PMC is not going to wipe, and we're going to have a separate character that's going to look something like this that I'm going to put up on screen that BSG have released. And this seasonal character is going to be the new PvP character that wipes, kind of bringing us back to the old style of Tarkov, where every 6 months we can look forward to a wipe where progression resets from 0 and we get to play the race. This means that different types of players are able to play the game the way they want. PvE guys who want to take their time, PvP guys who also want to take their time and get kappa and that kind of stuff, but without the pressure of having to do it within 6 months, can continue to play the character they're playing right now. Then you've got people who want to start from the beginning and race all the way through, or a mixture of all of them. You could play the new seasonal account for a month and then go back to casually playing either PvE or PvP permanent after you're finished having fun in the latest update. So the biggest question that we have remaining at the moment is exactly how seasonal is going to be different to the way that Tarkov plays out right now, because Nikita on Tarkov TV has said previously that each season is going to have a theme of some kind. This one is called Cord Breach, but what that means exactly is not entirely clear at this point. But one thing that they are going to add that they've talked about a few times is the idea of having perks and debuffs that you can choose on your character to make seasonal feel a little bit different to the way that we've played in the past. And I'm going to show the two pictures that they've revealed so far. So here is the seasonal modifiers number 1. This was a work in progress. It does say that down in the bottom corner, so I wouldn't take this as rote. But you can see at the top we have these global modifiers that are going to set the stage for the entire season, and everybody is going to have these modifiers on them on their seasonal character. So for example, that would be no insurance, so you can't insure your items at the traders at all, and no found in raid required for the hideout, which is actually a positive. Hideout zones wouldn't require the found in raid mark, and it says here 4 secret global modifiers as well. So again, I wouldn't take this is going to be exactly what's coming, but something along those lines is what BSG has planned. Alongside this, you're then going to be able to pick a selection of negative modifiers and positive modifiers to affect your character and help you get through as we go along. So for example, here we have allergic, some food, water and medicine causes an allergic reaction, hemophilia, bleed chance is increased by 25%, and osteoporosis, limb fracture chance is increased by 15%, and falling from heights deals 15% more damage. And then there's a whole bunch of others that they don't show. On the positive side, we have things like running faster, quieter in bushes, and this one for people who don't want to do Tarkov shooter, bolt action rifle skill leveling speed increased by 100%, and it starts at 10. So that's kind of the idea. Now they did just release one which is a little bit more detailed. So here we've got the actual screen, I believe, that's going to be coming through. At the bottom you can see it says PvPS, which is seasonal, I imagine, and it says here personal modifiers, positive and negative traits that apply only to your character. Each modifier has a point cost. To create a character, the total points must be 0 or higher. So you get positive points from the negative attributes, those give you points to then spend, and then the positives take those points away. You spend those points on those positive attributes, and your points has to be 0, so you can't just stack up a load of positive points for free. So this is getting a bit more detailed. I imagine the global modifiers were probably on the previous screen from this, but here we've got allergic, so become allergic to 2 random items from provisions or meds. Broken secure container, so it can only be filled with cash, keys, dog tags, special equipment and certain containers. No flea market at all, and third leg, which Nikita did tease on the podcast at one point, where it says movement speed is decreased by 1%, but buying items at therapist is 5% cheaper, so a little bit cheeky there. On the positive side, we have polyphagia, energy is consumed slower, sturdy bones, which actually can't be picked because the one that we saw before, osteoporosis, where you're more likely to get a broken bone, If you've chosen that one, you're then not allowed to choose Sturdy Bones, because that wouldn't make any sense. So limb fracture chance is decreased by 15%, and falling from heights deals 15% less damage. Then you've got this one, which is a very interesting skill, Average, which costs a lot of points actually, 12. All character skills are set to level 25, but cannot be leveled further, excluding crafting. The reason why this is interesting is that if you are a casual player and you're going to play a bit of seasonal, but you're not going to dedicate your life to it, you actually might want to pick this, because having 25 strength and endurance and all the other stuff, assault rifles, mag drills, all of those things, right from the word go, actually going to be quite a big advantage. And if you don't get over level 25 in those skills normally anyway, then you might want to pick it. It is 12 points, so it does look like it's quite expensive, but it might be one worth considering. The only point that I think you might want to think about before picking this is that you are going to forgo getting to elite level metabolism, which is the one that most people get first because you're just eating and drinking, and that stops you taking damage when you get onto 0 energy and 0 water, which is pretty handy, but it is kind of few and far between when that actually is useful, and you can always use a stim to get your energy and water back up again in an emergency. So maybe it isn't worth worrying about that. Final one, Kappa Protocol, immediately receive Secure Container Kappa. For this, you're going to have to bear in mind what the restrictions are. Currently, we still can't put ammo in the secure container, so how useful that is, I don't really know, but it might be worth it to you. It depends on exactly what you are going for. So I don't know whether you're going to be able to reset these at all partway through the season, because if it's fixed right at the beginning, you're going to have to really think about it, because there's a lot of stuff like that which I might take. You know, having your leg break more easily or something actually might be an easy one, because just using a splint really is no big deal. And taking something that has much more impact further down the line, even if it's quite a lot of points, might be worth giving up quite a few debuffs to take it instead. So we're going to have to see the full list. As we can see on the picture, it says up here we've got a whole bunch of other stuff. You can see the scroll bar, so there's loads of different perks on the negative and the positive side. So we're going to have to go through them all and figure out exactly what the best ones are to use, so you can get a build for seasonal, especially if you're not allowed to reset. Okay, so before we get into some of the other changes that we know are coming with seasonal, and some that we thought were that actually aren't, this is going to be dictated by the roadmap, and let's look at the timing first, because nobody knows exactly when seasonal is going to come out, but this roadmap gives us some indication of when it might be. So there are 3 patches before the seasonal account comes out, the third one being seasonal itself, and it starts with patch 1.0.6. This is June, technically, although I'm recording this on the 1st of July, expansions hub and regular mini events. So we do have mini events going on right now. We have the Wild Wild Woods, which has just been extended, which does indicate that maybe this is being pushed very, very slightly. And we have the expansions hub update not having actually arrived as of yet. So assuming that that comes this week, that means that it would be kind of towards the back end, maybe the 2nd or 3rd of July, or maybe even early next week on the 6th or the 7th. We then actually have one patch in between that one, which hasn't arrived yet, and seasonal itself, which is patch 1.0.6.5. And this one does state July, so they'd always expected it to be in July itself. And this one is a new in-game event called Blackout. So maybe this is something to do with night vision or playing at nighttime, something along those lines. So that's coming first, and people are going to be able to play that. So I expect that's going to be at least 4 days long, maybe even a week before we see the end of that particular event. And then finally, we get patch 1.1.0.0, which again is labeled for July. And this is the Seasons system and Season 1 launch. So in terms of timing, I can't imagine that this is going to launch until the end of July, sort of at least the middle to the end of July, which actually would end up working out quite well for me, incidentally, because I'm going to be away a little bit in a week's time. Unfortunate holiday booking, as always with me, I'm pretty cursed. But I'm hoping, and it's looking like it's probably going to be at least the 15th, 16th, if not towards the end of the month, like the 20th or the 27th. So we'll just see. But given that the events have started to slip a little bit already, and this first patch that should have been in June hasn't come with the expansions hub, I imagine that we're going to be waiting until the end of July before we actually see the seasonal system come in. I could be surprised though, you never really know with BSG. So at least with the timing discussed, let's now look at what we think is coming in the next patch. And then finally, we're going to look at things that we now know are not coming. So some of these are actually quite impactful. The first set, we have the reworked task system. We actually don't really know what this is about. We know that Nikita on the last Tarkov TV was saying they wanted to rework a lot of tasks to make them easier for new players. He's got a big focus on new players coming into the game now that we've got to Tarkov 1.0. So I imagine that we will see certain tasks getting reduced in complexity and potentially easier overall so we'll see exactly what that entails. The big one is this quality of life one here, this group shared kill objectives for tasks, which at a surface level seems very, very sensible. You're in a group of 3 people, you all need to go and do the boss kills, so you all go to interchange to kill killer together. One of you kills killer. Currently, only that one person gets credited for the kill. With this quality of life change, this means that you will all complete that quest at the same time. This sounds like a really, really good thing. However, I do wonder whether there are some fringe changes to this which might make it a little interesting. So for example, Shooterborn in Heaven, you now group up in a big squad of 5 people, all using the Marlin, and you go around the map terrorizing other PMCs as a massive group. This is going to make Shooterborn in Heaven significantly easier as a squad than it is as an individual, because any headshot from any of your fellow teammates would technically count towards your own Shooterborn in Heaven if the group shared kill objectives are active for this task. Now, they may well have split it out so that some tasks have to be done on your own, some tasks get the group shared thing, because the bosses stuff, that's fair play. But Shooterborn in Heaven, for example, or Psycho Sniper, or any of these others, that's a little bit different. And also, if you're doing something like Psycho Sniper, then how does that really work if the other team members are the ones getting the kills and then dying? That would then allow you to kind of be boosted through something like Psycho Sniper without really actually having to do much yourself. So I think there are some nuances to this system, and the exact strategy that we're going to use to get through it is going to depend exactly on how BSG have implemented it, as always. We also have a rebalanced insurance system and rebalanced hideout progression. Again, we're a bit details light on this, but I know Nikita had said previously that he wanted to make sure that the different traders actually had some kind of real impact on the insurance quality, speed, that kind of thing. Maybe some other factors that we haven't seen, because right now you basically just insure with Prapor, and if you're going away on holiday, then you probably insure with Therapist because she keeps it for longer. Other than that, you insure with Prapor 99.9% of the time. With the hideout progression, I think we're just going to see less stuff required to go through, because it has been pretty onerous in the past, and especially within seasonal, we want people to be able to progress up and actually get to max hideout without worrying about the long term, whether it's actually really worth doing or not. There's a couple of other things that are pretty self-explanatory. Improved beginner assistance packs when Prapor pops up and says, hey, you're new here and I'm going to give you some stuff. Streets of Tarkov optimization, or believe it when I see it. AI behavior improvements and fixes, we'll see what that's like, and expanded interactive mechanics on locations. So we have seen some screenshots and teaser videos of this before in Tarkov TV. Some of the code lock stuff has already been used in Icebreaker, and there were other environmental things that we've seen previously where you have like papers blowing through the street and that kind of thing. So we'll see exactly what they managed to actually get into the game, but that's pretty cool. I really do like the idea of more interactive mechanics within the maps themselves, switches, changing power states, that kind of thing. It does make the map much more fun to play. Now, the next section, we have weapons and gear, and I have a few things to show you here because there are a couple of guns that we've heard of and seen, not just within Tarkov TV. So we knew that the Chinese QBZ weapon was coming, and we do have a preview of this model, which I will show on the screen here. This one's going to be a relatively fun gun to use, and I imagine this is going to be coming in a new caliber because this doesn't use any of the calibers in the game that we have right now. We also have the Type 20. This was on a preview of a stock being modeled. It does look like leg armor at first glance, but it is actually a stock, and you can see in the asset name description that it is indeed the Type 20, which is the Japanese assault rifle in 5.56. It does look quite a lot like the Scar from looking up a few pictures. I'm not particularly familiar with this gun. It also looks a little bit like the HK433. We got an update from Sergey on the G28, which will now be able to be used with a short barrel. This is going to make this gun a beast, actually, because it's one of the lightest 7.62 NATO weapons in the game already, but it's got a fixed barrel length currently. So being able to stick a shorty on here with a suppressor, this thing is going to absolutely annihilate on ergo, and it might end up being one of my favorite DMRs in the game. We've also seen a little video of the G3, looking at its stock and then looking at it modded as well. So hopefully all these 4 are going to be coming in the next patch. Just for completeness, the last couple before we go on to the things that we know are not going to be in this next patch, we have some new PMC customization options, cosmetics basically, the additional anti-cheat measures, and also the observer camera. We don't know how this is going to work, but this is going to be something along the lines of being able to watch your teammates through some kind of helmet cam when they die. Could be kind of cool. Not sure if it's actually going to be useful. Again, it depends on exactly how they implement it. So our final section here is stuff that we now know is not coming with seasonal because it is coming later. And I think the biggest disappointment for me on this one is the lack of the Lighthouse rework. I really thought this was going to come with seasonal because along with the Lighthouse rework, we were also going to get alternative entry points to Icebreaker so that you didn't have to just transit from Shoreline. Obviously that doesn't matter now for most people who did actually want to do Icebreaker. Most people have actually got access from the main menu, but it would have been nice to have that optionality for people who are kind of coming in late or wanted to do it at another time. There is a big question about whether Icebreaker is going to be available with seasonal. I think it probably shouldn't be until a certain level or until you've progressed a certain quest chain or something that's got to be quite difficult because it's such an easy way to boost up your money and XP. People could end up being like crazy levels in seasonal, and that would make a huge difference between those who do it and those who don't do it. So I actually don't think Icebreaker should be in there like right from day one. Shouldn't just be able to jump in, do the quest line, go start smashing rogues and wedge at the beginning of the game under level 10, because I think that would maybe break it a little bit. So yes, unfortunately, the Lighthouse rework is not coming with seasonal based on this roadmap, which I think is a shame because it means we're still going to have to play Lighthouse in its current implementation, which is a huge drag. Hopefully we can just manage to avoid it. But there is going to be a ranked league system that is coming at some point in the future. We're going to see the first-person magazine loading animations later as well, and the containers with gear presets, which is going to be a bit of an easier way than the loadout presets that we have right now. There's going to be a skip prestige requirement for a large in-game fee, which I think a lot of people were hoping would come now, but again, that's coming later on. It means that we still can't avoid things like Psycho Sniper if you do want to prestige or get Kappa. The simplified GPS system is coming later, kind of for new players so they can figure out where they are on the map better than using the in-game ones. And we also have extraction availability reworks next time as well. So for the time being, when we're playing this version of seasonal, we're not going to have to worry about changing extracts. It's going to be the same as it is now, at least for the most part. There's a few other parts to this. Bring a friend and return bonus programs when people are coming back from a long hiatus. Trader system and loot on location rebalances along with a trader rep system rebalance. Now, I actually do think that the trader rep system and the trader item prices need a big pass. The whole thing needs a complete shakeup because of what they did with the attachments. A lot of them just don't make any sense anymore. You have cheaper stuff with better stats at lower trader levels than ones that are more expensive with worse stats that are much higher up the trader levels. Like there's all sorts of nonsense going on right now. So that definitely does need a pass, but that's not going to come for now. So we can just focus on using the good parts that we know of at the time being and use those pathways that we've looked at over this particular wipe since BSG made the attachment changes. Obviously, if you need to go and look at any gun, dbfortarkov.com is a great place for that. No sponsorship or anything, they're just really, really good. Finally, we're going to see Unity 6, a reworked raid connection system so you can get back in 30 seconds and not 5 minutes, and FSR 4 to the great joy of everybody who doesn't use an NVIDIA GPU. So this is basically what you can expect out of seasonal. I'm pretty excited. Obviously, there are some questions about whether the main PvP permanent servers are going to be completely dead, and there are some questions about splitting the player base between PvE, PvP permanent, PvP seasonal, and then also arena as well. We're now 4 games deep in terms of what people can actually play, and in some regions this might have a detrimental impact on the matchmaker, but overall, I think a lot of people are going to jump into seasonal. It's going to be worth playing for at least the first couple of weeks to a month or two, even if you're a relatively casual player, because the wipe is the best time in Tarkov, and that wipe feeling is coming back in 1.0 with the seasonal system to allow us to get our fix, because as we know, Tarkov just isn't going to work long term without the wipes. It's an unfortunate feature of the way the system works, and let's just accept it. It's exciting, it's fun, it means BSG can try new things, and each season can be slightly different. One might have radiation, one might have no secure container, one might be super hardcore, one might be, a really relaxed, luxurious patch where you can just buy everything and there's thermals everywhere, who knows. So it allows them to test, do all sorts of random stuff, but there's still a place to play if you want to play regular Tarkov, and that's on PvP Permanent. So as usual, a big shout out to all my patrons, and as always, have fun in your raids.